Jaws, Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. So today we are talking about emotionally intelligent, and we are going to explore how understanding your emotions and the emotions of others, how they can help you achieve your goals and live more fulfilling life. And Carol Ann, you chose this topic. Could you please explain to our audience why you chose this topic of emotional intelligence?
I don't know, actually, it just spoke to me. It just popped out and I thought, oh, yeah, that sounds like a good one to talk about, because actually it is important, and it is about being able to understand your emotions, understand how you are triggered, and also how can you improve your emotional intelligence. You know, what is emotional intelligence to start with, but also how does that impact your ability to succeed? How does it impact your ability to work in a team or lead a team? You know, it's all it's quite a big factor, and it has been shown that it's significantly, the higher your emotional intelligence is significantly related to your higher work engagement. So how you engage with your work and how productive you are. So there is a correlation there that it has been shown. So yeah, I just thought, especially in these times, you know, having come out of, I know we keep going back to, it's been 3 years, but it's still an impact that people have had emotionally, psychologically. And so it's being able to understand yourself and work with that and know how that can then lift you out of these times and move you forward. So that's why I chose it. So, whoops. So I'm bouncing around because I've just pulled on the cord here, got so excited. It's like, oh, we bounced around a bit. So yes. So Kamal, what was your thoughts?
Well, as you've been saying, emotional intelligence is quite important for success, in my opinion, at least. In old times, we used to say it's the IQ. Little did one know that it's your emotional intelligence that matters. You can be a person of very high IQ but have no emotional skills or emotional intelligence, as one says. And I'll probably just be repeating the same thing that you're saying, because it's all about understanding yourself, understanding your emotions, how to express them, when to express them, so that it benefits you. A little bit Machiavellist of me to say that, but in a sense, how to express your emotions in the correct state of mind and in the correct frame, so that you don't manipulate others, you are not hurt yourself, so that you can exceed your own expectations and move forward and succeed. I think this is an important factor, and it's also part of purpose. If I get to talk about purpose as well, you need to be able to master your emotions. And when you talk about NLP, you talk about emotional mastery. And so emotional mastery is not getting angry. It's not getting frustrated. It is understanding that you're getting frustrated or angry or irritated, or all these levels of anger, which we generalize with one word of anger. And so it goes from 0 to 100 instead of going different levels. It's understanding how that anger affects you or that irritation affects you, how your behavior is impacted, and the result of that behavior with others. And in that same moment, understanding and realizing how can you change that behavior. And that is emotional mastery. So that's my current thought for so far. Nomsa?
Yeah. I love what you were saying about it's mastering your emotions. It is, as they say in NLP, and it's not getting angry, Because actually, if you try and suppress that and stop yourself, then you're causing problems within your physical health then, because suppressing anger, suppressing emotions comes out in a different form within your physical body and shows up as illnesses. And this is something I think people need to understand. It is about expressing that, being able to be with those emotions. So that anger comes up. It's about being able to be with that anger, but in a way that is not destructive, that actually lashes out. But if you do happen, if it does take you like that, then not making yourself wrong. It's recognizing, well, what triggered you? And then working on that and reaching out for help if you can't master it yourself, because they're not always that easy to master. Because that, especially the anger one that just blows up out of nowhere, that literally has you react, comes from the primitive reflex. It's the Moro reflex. And if that reflex isn't fully integrated in your system, it literally has control over you. It's not something that you can control. It needs to have done its work. It needs to then be fully integrated into your system, because this is the fight or flight reflex. Once it's fully integrated into your system, it becomes then what's known as the adult startle reflex. So you're just startled. It's like, oh, but you know what it is. So you can then respond appropriately. And the anger might come up a bit, but and it's, oh, and it can go down again. So this is where understanding the triggers and what is actually going on inside of you that has you have this emotional outburst. And as I say, that is something to reach out for and ask for support with. So that's just one aspect of that anger, that fight or flight reaction. And I've seen that so many times once I first learned about it. And then I started seeing people's reaction. And it's a very, very volatile, very hurtful energy behind it. You can feel like you've been literally punched in the stomach by that energy. Somebody just goes at you, woof, and you're going, oh my goodness, where did that come from? And it's you then being able to, on the other hand, on the other side, be able to understand and master your own emotions as to how you then are impacted by what I call a Moro attack. And it's taken me time to be able to master that and work with that, so that I can now just feel that energy. It just goes straight through me and I can just still be open and loving, know it for what it is. And that then helps to calm everything down much more quickly, because it can trigger you to then reacting back. And that's where a fight then takes place. So it's an amazing, I call it an amazing game. It is a game, but it's a game of that you need to understand what's going on, like
Absolutely.
any game.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's about understanding your rules before anything else, the rules of your behavior, the rules of your emotions. These are your triggers, right? And it's fascinating. It's all like you're saying, it's what's happening here, recognizing that something is happening. And to sum up what we're talking about, especially about emotional mastery, there's a quote by Viktor Frankl. And that quote, in my opinion, sums up totally emotional intelligence, emotional mastery, and how it can lead you to success. And the quote is, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And you cannot sum up emotional mastery and emotional intelligence better than this, in my opinion.
I love that. I can feel that as you were saying it.
Right.
There's that space. You can feel that. It's like a pregnant pause, isn't it?
It is.
You then got that choice to go this or this way. It's like, wow, yeah, that's powerful. I love that. I've not heard that.
And it's fascinating because in the beginning, when you start noticing that space, it's like it's a millisecond, right? It's like you get the trigger and you're like, "Arr!" But there's a millisecond, and if you take the time to listen to that space, to that silence in your head, it makes a world's difference in your response, in your behaviors, in with the people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nomsa, where are you with this?
I'm listening to you guys. Yes, I actually agree with you how important it is, like with emotionally intelligent. It helps you to actually manage your own emotions and also and those around you. It gives you the awareness of what is going on in the present moment, and also how we react to those around us, and also it helps us deal with our feelings, because the emotions, when it comes to our feelings as well, because the emotions and feelings, there are some people, like, let's say, when they are reacting to the situation, they don't think. But when you use the emotionally intelligence, there are loads of benefits when it comes to that, and also the experience is most likely, like a personal and professional life, that it will help you how to deal with, how you're able to communicate effectively with those around you, communicating your wants, sending the message how it should be sent, and reacting professionally, and even professionally with your loved ones, and how you deal with the situation. And also it actually helps you to form strong relationship with people around you. So I'm just gonna leave it the way there. Strong relationship.
You're absolutely right, Nomsa, and especially that communication part. I mean, it's all part of that emotional intelligence, is knowing emotionally where people stand in front of you in order for you to respond to them accurately, or
and also how to navigate challenges with the resilience and grace as well. So
definitely, yeah.
And so something that somebody you could do to manage this, or to start learning about yourself, is actually keep a diary. And at the end of each day, just write down what happened. What made you, how things made you feel, and how you dealt with it. And then you can perhaps you can start spotting patterns. You can start seeing things that perhaps triggered you that weren't aware of, because very often we're just not aware of what happens. We're so entrenched in the way we live and we react, until we actually become conscious of it. Can we then do anything about it? So keeping a day-to-day diary of, what happened, how did you feel, what pushed your buttons, was there some triggers that happened, what was said, how did it make you feel, were there some memories from the past that came up? Because again, it's childhood memories that are being triggered here. It's not actually very often the you now that is triggered. It's an inner child. And so therefore, understanding where this has come from can also help, because then you can work with that inner child and heal, and let whatever happened then, that trauma, that ever causes the reaction, to then dissipate. And it's also about where in your body are you feeling the emotions. Because if you can locate in your body, that again helps you to become aware of it. And the more you become aware, the more you can actually, it would shift and change. Because it has been scientifically shown that anything that's observed, its behavior changes. You know, it's like, it's amazing. I don't know how that is, but somehow it is. You observe it and things do change. And it has been shown, I think, through some experiments with, I think it's called photons, light, I think light beams. And they've shown that as it's observed, it literally changes its pattern of behavior. And so observe what you're doing. But the more we become aware of what's happening and spot patterns, the more we then have the power to do something about it. You can then, you've then got a choice. Do something about it or stay just stuck in it. It is your choice at the end of the day. And it depends if you want to grow as a person and succeed more in what you're doing, whether it's in your business, in your finances, in relationships, in anything in your life, then the choice is yours to notice what is holding you back. What is, how is your emotional intelligence actually impacting your ability to grow? So keep that daily diary, and that is, something that really will help you to become much more aware of what is happening.
Very useful, the diary or the journal, whatever people want to call it these days. We used to call it diary, now it's journal. Because like the diary is it's teenage, I guess. No, but I understand. No, it's absolutely correct what you're saying. And this is what we were talking about in the very start. It's observing yourself and understanding what triggers you, what doesn't trigger you, asking for help, family members, the words that we use, parents that yell at their children for no reason. They're just angry. They're not angry, but they just get frustrated, and somebody does something and you get frustrated and you start yelling at them. Take a moment, tell your kids, tell them to ask you why you're yelling. And every time they ask you that, take that space to think, do I really need to yell? And what is it? You're talking about the trauma, what's deeper inside. If somebody is yelling, usually it means they're not hurt internally. They're not hurt, whether their words are not strong enough, whether they want to express something else, but nobody's listening. And so let your children ask you, why are you yelling? And it will allow you to calm yourself down and think a little bit. Does anything really deserve yelling? At the end of the day, not really. But that's my personal opinion. You can get your words through without yelling. You can be very nasty even without yelling and without saying one single insult.
Yeah.
So words do matter, the same as how they matter to when you speak to yourself. We've mentioned that in several other sessions or lives. The needs, the shoulds, and the musts, how we use words to direct ourselves as a tyrant, or we speak the same words to our children, siblings, to family members, to our partners. You have to do that. No, that person has a choice, like Carol Ann said. That person has a choice to do something or not. Yeah.
Are you still talking, Carol?
No, I was just going to say, and it's the fun fact is that about 90% of people actually don't make a choice to grow. They don't make a choice to change. So it's really up to you to choose what you want to do, how you want that emotional intelligence that is available for you to improve and to grow, to impact your life and your future.
Yeah, I think it is important, like what you're saying, Kamal, that we yell to our children and they haven't got a clue why we are yelling, and we don't explain to them what is going on, and we expect them to be perfect. And for me, I see children as innocent, and whatever they do is like my daughter. When she wants something, she's so annoying. She will just come to me and say, "Mommy." She's asking me, but she's telling me basically, and I'm like, I just go quiet, and the answer she's expecting me to say yes. So I just let her go on, and then I'm like looking at her and I'm so quiet. And then I'm like, okay, you finish. Let's just go back to the conversation now. It has to be a two-way. So I'm like, I have to explain the reason why. And she goes, I was just trying it anyway. I know it's going to be no. I'm like, no, you don't have to say that. You have to ask. And also I tell them that if I say something, if you believe that you have an argument regarding whatever I'm saying or an obligation, you sit down with me, tell me why you have obligations about whatever the decisions that I'm making. I'll be happy to listen to you, because you have to look at these kids as I look at some other kids where they were yelled at and things, parents are really, really strict. Now, when they do things, it's easy for them to actually get into really anxiety and depression because they don't know how to deal with what is going on. For me, my dad, he actually used to manipulate me, use the emotional intelligence. He would be like, you sit down, and we'll have this moment where we have to go to some lifestyle checkups where he'll work out what's going on with my life. Am I happy? And he will not tell me off. If I do something wrong, he will not tell me off, but he will sit down with me and explain to me the consequences of doing something, not listening to the parents, what happens. And also, if I grow up, maybe let's say I'm a teenager, and then think that I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, and he will tell me that whatever I'm doing, I might think that I'm doing for my parents and I'm annoying my parents, but at the end of the day, I'll be destroying my own life. So he will, as a parent, he will explain this is what is expected of me. And whenever I will be doing things, because the man will not tell me off, he will tell me things in a sweet voice. Wherever I'm tempted to get naughty, that sweet voice comes into my head. Then I'll just back off and not do it. Honestly, that's how I've realized that telling children off, it does not help. Honestly, my dad used to explain, and I'll go out and start getting naughty with my friends. I'll be like, he's not going to be happy with me. I better go home now. I just stop everything and I just go home. And in that way, even my mom was the same and my stepdad were the same. My stepmom, she likes yelling, even yelling at everyone. And when you yell at everyone, me, I just look at her and I'll be like, you keep yelling. When you finish, you stop and then I'm out. Because when somebody's yelling, I don't really hear the message. I just look at that person and I'm like, oh, okay, because I'm not used to it. So she will yell. And we used to think that she's yelling because we are not her children. And then when she had the children with my dad, she does the same thing, yelling. And my siblings are like, she loves yelling. And I'm like, I know. So it doesn't help. So sometimes it is good, like Carol Ann was saying, you have to keep diary, record things, like be aware of your emotions. It does help. When you do that, it helps you with the skills. You get to understand your emotions, and at the same time, you are developing skills of how to deal with the problems, how to be aware of your emotions. It's like myself, I meditate a lot, really meditate a lot. When somebody comes to me, in a different, like with the different emotions of anger, or maybe sometimes they come in a place where they are blaming or they're not in the right place, I have to stop before I reply. I have to stop, but I'm not going to reply based on what they are saying. The answer will be, are you okay? Because that's not how a normal person actually approach the person. So I'll be like, are you okay? Is there anything I can help? And they'll be yelling. I'm like, okay. Even in the office, when somebody comes in, they yell and they're like, the office is closed, it should not be closed. I'm like, but I'm here. Tell me what you want, and then I can help you. Sometimes they just want simple things. You just help them straight away. Or sometimes things takes time. Or sometimes if somebody says, you said you're going to match me on this day, but now things have not happened. But listen, I'm not responsible when you go on dates. I'm not there. What you say, the words, like what you were saying about words come out. Words are very powerful. What we say plays a big part in our lives. Sometimes we live in a judgmental world. You go out, very nice man, you open your mouth, the woman judges you straight away for no reason. Or a man judges you straight away for no reason. But it doesn't mean that we're going to stop searching. It means we keep going. But our generation, we want things now. We are living in a world where, like Kamalo was saying, 90% of people are angry. They want.
I didn't say that. I didn't say 90% of people are angry. Don't put words in my mouth.
Honestly, they're angry. They want things done now. If things are not done, why haven't they done? I want the results now, not tomorrow. It's like when you pray, God doesn't just say, okay, here's your blessings. Sometimes he gives it to you straight away. Sometimes he plays games. It is like, okay, you want to help people at Ngozi talk shows? You want to travel around the world? You want to help 20 million, 1 million people? I'm going to test you first. So I need to see whether you can handle that. So then there's going to be challenges. But if you use emotional intelligence, would you give up? No, you will keep going.
And that's where you come into the main parts of what emotional intelligence stands for and what they're composed of. So the first one we spoke about intensively was self-awareness, right? And then the second thing we hinted at, and you hinted at it now, it's self-regulation or self-management. And people that with high emotional intelligence are usually capable of managing those emotions and controlling their urges, the careless decisions, or the ones that are, let's do it quickly, and just it's self-regulation, it's thoughtfulness, it's being able to maintain a certain level of integrity to what they believe in. And the third part of emotional intelligence, which you were talking about, is that motivation. People with high levels of emotional intelligence are fully capable of motivating themselves like this, because they are in control of, they're aware of themselves and their capabilities. They're aware of how to regulate themselves, how to regulate their emotions, what they want out of their life. And so what do they need? They just want to motivate themselves to do these things. So it becomes very easy. I want number 1 and 2. Well, I'm going to push myself to do number 1 and 2. I mean, for me, chemistry was horrible. So it's not chemistry. It's very simple. This is math. For me, I love math. This is math. You want number 1 and number 2, you have to add them together. Okay, then go to number 1 first. And I think, if I remember well, you're a maths teacher, aren't you, Caroline?
Yeah,
So-
I totally get what you're saying. Love maths. Yeah.
So you're talking about motivation here. But again, motivation doesn't work alone. Anybody that is motivated to do, a lot of people get motivated during New Year's, right? They're motivated to have this resolution, New Year's resolutions. And how long did it last? I think 14 days or what was it? Was it 14 days, the average that it lasts, that a New Year's resolution lasts, or 20 days, something like that, something ridiculous.
Mm.
So what do you need after that in order for yourself to continue that motivation? It's that determination, that drive, that skill that keeps you holding on to that, and which is, we were talking about that self-regulation. Now, people with emotional intelligence also have empathy, because it is that empathy that allows them to put themselves in other people's shoes, to understand how others feel, to communicate similar emotions, where the other person can really sense that, wait, that person understands me, even though they're not going through the same thing. They are capable of putting themselves in my shoes, relating to what I'm doing. They listen to what I'm saying, what I'm complaining about. Even if I'm complaining every day about that same thing, they're still here to listen, and they know exactly what to say. A lot of people say that they've got empathy, especially narcissists and Machiavellists, right? But they really don't have it. They have what is called learned empathy. They can imitate empathy. They don't have the instinctive empathy. And so empathy is quite crucial when it comes to emotional intelligence, because the more empathy you have, the easier it is for you to understand people, and the higher your social skills will become.
Mm. And that does come down to being able to listen,
Yeah,
and get into someone else's world, really understand where they're coming from, and that having your own self-awareness, because if you're aware of how what somebody's saying impacts you, then you can deal with that. It's knowing how to deal with it, because when you listen to what someone else says, what they're saying impacts you, it's just being able to pop it to one side and know that you can deal with that later, so that you can still remain present. So another key component here is being present. You're in the moment. You're totally here. You're listening. You're aware of what the emotions are that are going on, and you're able to just be with them. And it is that you were saying about parents that yell at children. I was one of those years ago, and and okay, when I think about it, it's like, oh God, but that's who I was then. I've now changed. I've grown in other ways. I'm much calmer inside, and I now can't believe how much anger I had in myself. And I never thought of myself as someone who was angry, because I didn't seem to be that angry. There were other people way angrier than I was, but I'm aware now that there was a deep, deep anger within me, a frustration about not being listened to, about not being heard. And that was my inner child. And I know there was that, if my children didn't do what they said, it was immediately, woof, yell at them. And I remember one time, my younger daughter, she just would not do what I was telling her to do. And her sister was saying, do it, do it, she's going to, because I was threatening to smack her. And I was getting more and more angry. And I was like, and I literally came to in that moment and thought, this isn't getting me anywhere. So I literally said to her, I am going to go outside and I will be back in a moment, and I want you to have done da, da, da. So I literally backed off, took myself away. So I guess there was a level of emotional intelligence coming out in that moment, because we all have emotional intelligence. It's to what degree we are able to use it, and at what level. If we have a high level of it, or if it's at a lower level. So in that moment, I was really grateful that I just came to and thought, no, this isn't working. I removed myself. And then when I came back, she had done what I asked her to do. And everything had just calmed down. That was a huge learning for me in that moment. So again, it's being able to become aware, become present. Is what you're doing actually going to be productive? Is it actually safe for the other person? Because actually in that moment, just before I sort of came to and went, no, I'm stepping away, it wasn't safe for her, because I could have completely lost it. And I think this is where parents that do lose it, I can understand it's that tipping point. If you haven't got that higher level of emotional intelligence, this is where you can lose it. And you don't have that self-awareness and then that self-regulation. So it's being able to wake up in those moments. But the more I've worked on myself, I've worked on my inner child and resolved those issues for her and the traumas, the calmer I am. I'm just so still inside it. These things don't trigger me in the same way. But what's interesting, I love the way you're saying about, get your child to say to you, why are you shouting at me, or can you stop shouting? So it actually prompts a conversation. And it is about being able to then have that conversation, not take it personally or not get angry because they've said stop shouting. Again, that's another level of emotional intelligence, being able to take that positive criticism, that suggestion. Something isn't working for somebody, and they've had the courage to actually call you out on it. And I think that's beautiful. So you can then calm down and say, okay, so have a conversation that then is productive. And what's interesting is my grandson, very often, doesn't happen much these days, but sometimes there's a way of, as you were saying, Kamala, you can get a tone to what you're saying so that it's much more powerful rather than shouting. But what was interesting is my grandson says, stop shouting, Nan. And I'm going, I'm not shouting. I've just, that tone in my voice, I said, if you want me to shout, I'll shout. but it's interesting. To him, that was shouting, but then we just were able to calm it down and go, well, I'm asking you to do this and you're not listening to me. And we were able to then have a conversation about it. But something else that's interesting is language. We were saying about language, words, being able to rephrase something. And very often there's frustration and confusion are two emotions that just literally kill drive. They just literally stop you. And I know they do for me. But what I've realized is that frustration is very often you're on the edge of a breakthrough. And so it's working with that frustration, and it's rephrasing the word and the situation and realizing, I'm about to have a breakthrough. And let yourself have that breakthrough. The other thing is confusion. And I've always loved, I think it's Brandon Bayes has said, that very often confusion is the gateway to learning. So welcome confusion. It's that you're about to learn something. So if you can rephrase the emotions, give them a name, because that's also important. Widen your vocabulary, give emotions names, name them, and then work with them. But those two in particular, certainly they're worth looking at them in a different way.
You're absolutely right. We were talking about that. People say I'm happy or I'm angry but there are different levels. It's a gauge. It's not like 0, 100. There are several things. It's I'm triggered, I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated, I'm irate, I'm livid. You know, there are different levels, but everybody calls it anger, and everybody calls it I'm happy, right? When you were talking about rephrasing, that's a wonderful example. And there's a sentence that I've heard from many, many, many parents, and I'm sure you've said it. I know I've said it. And if we just rephrase that sentence, it will make a whole world of a difference. And the sentence is, why aren't you listening to me?
Yes.
It's not, why aren't you listening to me? How can I say it differently for you to listen?
Yes.
What is causing you to not listen to me? Right? And it's all about rephrasing those sentences. You get frustrated and, why aren't you listening to me? And all you get, big eyes, a stare. Mom, Dad, I don't understand. You're crying. No, but you don't understand yourself. And so rephrase that sentence, gather that frustration that's your trigger, it's your moment to shine and to get that breakthrough, like Caroline was saying. Use it to your advantage. Change that sentence. Instead of saying, why aren't you listening to me? Understand what you're saying, how you're saying. Maybe you've given too many commands to that child. Too many commands, it doesn't help. Maybe you've given the child 3 choices instead of 2. By the way, you give anybody 3 choices, it becomes confusing. It becomes too much. Always give 2 choices only. And choices that you want.
Why aren't you listening to me?
Choices, but it is important to give choices.
Absolutely.
Because it makes them develop that skill of making a decision. And so many people can't decide. And I remember being on a stand helping somebody sell some plastic vases at one time. And people would say, oh, yes, I'd like one. Which one shall I get? And I said, well, it's your choice. You know, what do you want? Oh, I can't decide. Oh, the number of people that I can't decide and wanted someone else to choose for them. So I did use a little bit of, well, if you could choose, which one would you be choosing? Language, which then they go, oh, I think I'll have this one. Because then it is their choice. But yeah, I used to give my children, I give them a couple of choices and say, you choose. Because then it is developing that skill of making a decision. And choosing for yourself.
Absolutely. Do you want to do the dishes or do you want to wash the floor? I'll do the dishes. Great.
Yes. So you're going to say
wash the dishes or you want to wash the floor? Say, do it yourself. It's amazing how we actually raise our children, and then we look back. And I was listening to Kadoni the other day. He was saying the gift that he will love to give his children is the power of communication, for them to learn how to communicate properly. And I think it's amazing when you actually teach your children to actually fight their battles, because this world is revolving, is changing. A child has to have confidence, but we tend to solve problems with these things, gadgets. Buy our children as many gadgets and we think it's love, but when they are older, it affects their communications. They can't communicate their desires, they can't communicate what they want because they are used to actually play on the gadgets, and parents don't communicate with their children. And but I think it's very, very important to actually teach our children to actually communicate properly. Even at workplace, when we use the emotional intelligence, it helps with the skills to actually develop and strengthen over time. It strengthens your skills, and also practice mindfulness, and it helps with self-reflection and empathy exercises, and also when an intelligent person seeks out feedback from others, and they are also open to learning and growth. There are some people, they don't like advice. You give them advice, like it becomes a battle. But if you use emotional intelligence, if you know how to use it, you can get as much feedback. Me, I use feedback. Anyone that criticizes me, I use that feedback. Even if they criticize me in a nasty way and they actually don't realize it, I just use that as a feedback. And I sit down and ask myself, what if a real person that meant well were coming to me and say those things? How would I solve the problem if it was a real problem? But sometimes if it's not really helping me, I don't use it. I just pray to God and cancel and rebuke whatever the words, because words are so powerful. So if somebody comes to your life and they say words, just cancel them. You don't have to leave them the way, cut the cords of those words, because they play very, very important parts in your life. I never knew how powerful words are until one day I realized actually the words that we speak, they play very, very important part in our lives. So it's very, very important to know that whatever we say, or our emotions, to be aware of our emotions, to be aware of our feelings. We don't have to pretend, like Kamal was saying, that not everyone wants to deal with their problems. People, they just ignore. You meet people and you are like, this is very stressful, I will not live like that. And you ask them and they're like, I have to. I don't have a choice. I'm like, but you do have a choice. And they're like, in my heart, I'm like, you do have a choice. And they're like, no, I don't. But I'm thinking that is a torture. It's the life where people choose to torture themselves. But when it comes to life, everybody has a choice. We have a choice in how we respond. We have a choice on how we communicate. We have a choice on who is in our lives, who we date, who we employ. We have all those choices. So when it comes to a place where somebody feels that they don't have a choice, I find that is a torture. Honestly, I will not live that life myself. If anyone is watching in our community and you feel that you have to live that life because you don't have a choice, at Ngozi Talk Show, you do have a choice. That's why it's called Find Your Own Voice. Lead from within. Leading from within, it means I'm going to live the life that I want. I'm going to work on my emotional intelligence so I can be the person that I am created to be. And I'm gonna live it. I'm gonna speak it. I'm gonna walk it. I'm not gonna fake it. So that's what Ngozi Talk Show is about. And all these coaches that are here at Ngozi Talk Show, they're here to help you. So if you feel that, you know what, I'm living this life because I don't have a choice, we all have a choice in life. Over to you, Kamau Kero-Ann.
Yeah, we certainly have a choice. And that choice is down to you. And something that there's a quote by Joseph Fort Newton. He says, we cannot tell what may happen to us in the strange medley of life, but we can decide what happens in us. how we can take it, what we can do with it. And that is what really counts in the end. So yeah, things happen, life happens. Your choice is how you then respond to it and what you end up doing. Now, and my tongue doesn't want to say what I was there to say. Okay, and I had a choice in that moment to get totally frustrated and angry with my tongue, or just make it, bring some humor to it. Very often bringing a bit of humor and having a laugh just lightens it, shifts the moment, and allows you to move on. And what I was wanting to say was actually about bringing in gratitude, sharing something with people around you. Maybe that you've got a team of people that you work with, or just with your family or your friends. Make a point of actually sharing something that you're grateful for, acknowledging something about them that you really like. Because by bringing in that acknowledgement, that gratitude, you lift the whole energy. And it then creates, I can't think of the word, but it's a feeling. And really, emotional intelligence is about feelings. It's about your emotions. And it's like there's a warmer feeling comes. There's a happier feeling. And there's something that opens up the joy of life by being grateful, but also by expressing that to other people. So that's something to think about. That's another way that you could improve or raise your emotional intelligence, have that awareness, and actually make a point of sharing or gifting somebody something, a positive comment, acknowledging them. What do you think, Kamal?
I definitely agree with you. That's to work on your self-awareness and take a moment. That's one thing that I've noticed. If we talk of one of the simplest things, one of the first things that we've ever done since we were born, which is breathing. And how many times has anybody stopped to think about how one breathes? Probably none. Very few do it. And just that moment to think how you're breathing, to realize, am I breathing from my chest or am I really breathing from my diaphragm? And breathe, take a few deep breaths from your diaphragm. That simple self-awareness exercise is quite, it's very simple, and it helps you grasp these moments of anger, joy, having that self-awareness of, wait, I'm going through something here. What do I want to express? What kind of emotional feeling do I have here? How would I like to display it? And so these simple things, another simple thing to do to pay attention to self-awareness is, we all have our favorite breakfast or favorite lunch that we have. Let's say breakfast, because that's the most common thing usually. And how many times did you get a bowl of cereal or oats or a fruit and taken a bite, closed your eyes and thought about the texture, the smell, the sensation in your mouth? How many times have you thought about the journey that that fruit has taken from the shop backwards to the place where it was packed, back to the trees and the soil and the farm itself? Now, these are very, very tiny things to consider. Your coffee or your tea, when you're taking a sip, think about that tea. Think about that that tea farm and factory in Sri Lanka, for those of you that drink Earl Grey, because it does come from over there. Think of the leaves from over there, how they're dried, how they're going through that process and then being sent and shipped over to the UK or wherever you are in the world. Taste it. All of these help you understand your emotions and feelings a little bit more, and push yourself to have these moments more and more in your day and be grateful for them, like Caroline was saying. And I'll give you a quote on words, because these are what we use every day to communicate, and those words affect us. I have it here because I keep forgetting it exactly how it's said, because I taught it to my son and he keeps repeating it. And it's, do not speak bad of yourself, for the warrior within hears your words and is lessened by them. And that's an old Japanese proverb. And you can take it at face value, or you can take it and expand on it a little bit by the words that you use to express yourselves with others. Are you constantly in that frame of mind that any event that happens to you is either bad or good? Or do you consider everything that is happening to you good? Do you consider things to happen because it's you, or it's a learning process? Is your life filled with musts and shoulds and have to, with a whip behind your back? Or is your life filled with wants? The choice is yours.
Oh, absolutely. The choice is yours. As always, it comes down to that, doesn't it? It keeps coming down to that every time. And actually, Daniel Goleman says as much as 80% of adult success comes from emotional intelligence. So if you're wanting to succeed in your business, in your life, in your relationships, don't focus on that. Focus on your emotional intelligence. Where are you on that scale of emotional intelligence? Actually look into what is emotional intelligence if you really don't know that much about it. We've just shared a tip of it and what it's about, but it's about now you thinking and looking for yourself. Do some research, look it up, and get to know yourself. Where are you? But also expand your vocabulary.
Yeah.
Really, a whole load of words. How many more words could you find to describe your emotions? And that was something that has really helped me when I did the emotional journey, one of Brandon Bayes' journeys, where you drop down through the emotional layers. And it is the one process that many people struggle with, identifying those emotions and what they are, or being with them. But I found I didn't have any words in the beginning. I mean, this is about 20 odd years ago when I first did it. But I didn't have the words then. Now I find that my vocabulary for describing the emotions has broadened. It could be more. I could still expand it even more. But it also helped me to classify the difference between anger and rage. All of a sudden, when I got that distinction, it's like, wow, that's different. Yes, that's rage. This is rage I'm feeling. It's not just anger. And by then, can you feel the difference? You've got that word. The word itself has the power in it of that emotion. And then you can work with that and be with it. And then just in the process, you just drop down through the emotional layers until you come to a place of it's much more blissful and calm and peaceful. So there's a whole spectrum of words and vocabulary that you could learn. And I found that many people, when they started dropping down through the layers, actually getting to those calmer, more loving feelings, actually didn't have a word for it, because actually it's something they've never experienced before. And I used to say, it's okay. If you can't find a word will come. Because the way we learn best is not the way we're taught at school. The way we're taught is we're given the coding, we're given the words, and then the experience comes afterwards. The way we actually learn best, the stress-free way, is by experiencing it and then coding it, giving it the word. So I would say, okay, don't worry, the words will come. It wasn't for me to give them a word, because it's everybody's got their own way of describing something, and a word will mean something different to everybody. And it's something I realized, that actually when I was younger, people used to try and put words in my mouth, because I used to find it really hard to say what I wanted to say, or to find my words. Or if I did say something, they say, oh, do you mean this? And I go, no. But I couldn't do anything with it. Now I can actually say, no, this is my word, this is what I mean. And also help them to understand and be with the words that they use. Because instead of making them wrong and getting angry about it, I can now actually hear what they're saying and understand where they're coming from, and still be a stand for, no, this is my word, this is the actual word that I mean to use. and so words, yeah, as we keep saying, as you were saying, Nomsa, they're powerful, but they're really important. So a key thing you can do is expand your vocabulary, really get to know the different emotions and label them. No.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kamal and Carol Ann. Hope our audience enjoyed today's conversation. So, Carol Ann, would you mind please introducing yourself to our audience and letting them know where they can find you?
Yes, I'm Carol Ann Cooper. I'm the writing facilitator, and my journey has been one from maths teacher to unlocking the writer within and becoming the writing facilitator, and finding a joy with words that I never used to have. And what I do is I support women in actually becoming more productive with their writing, being able to face the emotional aspects of their story and heal through that and write about it in a much more empowering way. So you can find me on Facebook or on LinkedIn. And I do have a Facebook group called Get Your Book Written. And it is about actually getting it written, because you can't publish what isn't written. So it's that healing journey through writing is really what I'm about. So Kamal, would you like to tell
Definitely.
people?
Thank you very much, Carol Ann. So my name is Kamal Ema. I am a psychologist. I'm an NLP master practitioner and a trainer. I help people create a foundation to their life so that they can live a purposeful life. As you can read, I'm a life purpose coach, and that's what I help you do. I don't help you find your purpose, because you don't find it in a drawer or in the cupboard or outside of your home. The key is in your heart, and that's where, I help you uncover your purpose. Use a little bit of NLP techniques and some ancient Egyptian methodologies, because they were known to be living the most purposeful life. And I combine both of them to help specifically mid-management, because they are the people with the most sense of loss of purpose in their life, unfortunately. Being squeezed between top management and the lower employees, it's a tough place to be. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram with kamal.amer. You can find me on my website, kamalamer.com. You can find me on Facebook, on YouTube as well, here with Nomsa and Caroline and the rest of the team at Nkosi Talk Show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kamal and Carol Ann. If it's the first time watching us on YouTube, my name is Nomsa. I am your love harmonist. Love is what I harmonize. So if you are single and looking for love, you can head to www.hseia, connect with me there, or fill out an application form, and then it will do the talking after. Of course, with the process, you can't meet someone without meeting us in person. So we meet all our clients face to face. If you're looking for love in a very safe environment where you take good care of, receive first-class service, Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency is for you. At Nkosi Talk Shows, we help you find your own voice and lead from within. And all these coaches, they have their own framework that they use to help you find that voice and lead from within, and also be the master of your emotional intelligence. And we are here at Nkosi Talk Shows Monday to Friday UK time, 1 p.m. And please connect with us. And if you're watching us, you've not subscribed, subscribe to our channel. And if you're on Facebook, like us on our page. And we're still looking for some stars to reach more people in our community. Please give us some stars as well if you're watching us on Facebook, on our Facebook page. And if you're not following us, you can follow us on our Facebook page by liking our page. And we have a group as well, Facebook group, Nkosi Talk Shows group, and the Unique Billionaire Mindset. So we have two groups, so you can follow us there. And just send an email if you want to connect with one of the speakers. Send me an email. I'll connect you with whoever you feel. This person, I relate to this person. They get me and I get their message. Please feel free to get in touch. Don't just feel that you don't have a choice in life, because you do have a choice when it comes to making decisions and living the life how you want. And today we've been talking about emotional intelligence, and I'm just going to leave you with this. Emotional intelligence is the critical component of how you are able to find that success and find happiness. The success is already with you. Happiness is already with you. It's just you discovering within and going far and beyond to becoming the person and being aware of your emotions and people around you as well, and making better decisions, making better choices, building good relationship with people around you, and achieving goals with grace. Live with grace, everyone, and God bless. Did you have anything to say, Kamal or Carol Ann, before we leave?
Nothing from my end. Just enjoy your day and think about the choices that you make, whether it's your words or your life.
Yeah. There's just a quick quote from Benjamin Franklin. Whatever is begun in anger ends in shame. Just something to
Ends in shame.
Over. Ends in shame. Yeah.
That's powerful, Carol Ann. That's powerful. Thank you so much, guys. See you soon.